Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel, and welcome to another edition of Friday Fun Day. And this is a really fun pattern. I'm calling this the Scrap Happy Christmas Ornament Crochet Pattern because we're using all of our leftover yarn scraps. This one is made with a sparkle yarn. That's just a cream color, has gold going through it. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of messes with the camera a little bit. These two are made similar. The red in this one's a little bit darker, but they are made similar. And then this one is that peppermint yarn we used. We made the blanket, and then we also did one of those candy pieces in our mini mystery crochet along, and I thought it would be perfect to make an ornament with. And so you can do this with several different colors, or you can do it in solids, and you can get in your yarn stash and come up with lots of different colors to put together. You can do them in stripes, you can do them in solids, ombres, whatever you want to do, and whatever yarn scraps you have. And you don't have to do traditional Christmas colors. If you know someone that's doing maybe that pastel Christmas colors that's real popular right now, do that. They make great Christmas gifts. They're great to stitch up last minute and have around. You can hang them on your tree, across your mantle. You can set them in bowls on a table just for looking at because they're so cute. Like I said, leftover yarns, lots of leftover ribbons. I used thin ribbons. You can use whatever size you want. And then lots of different types of embellishment. We've got a holly leaf here, gingerbread man. I found these cute peppermint buttons, and then this is a poinsettia. And you can get in your Christmas button stash, ribbon stash, yarn stash, and we can have a lot of fun. You can either buy the plastic ornaments that go inside, or you can just stuff them. Either way works perfect for this project. I think this sparkle on this one's kind of messing with my camera a little bit, so it's kind of blinking, but don't worry, it's okay. All right, now you can find the complete pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. And another thing, this is a free Ravelry download in my Ravelry shop. And I'll put that Ravelry link down in the notes underneath this video also. This pattern is just so fun and so easy. I wanted you to have it for free. Merry Christmas. Now I've got a lot of stuff out here, and it looks like we need a lot of supplies, but we really don't need a lot of things. This is extra yarns that I already had on hand, and I like to use the thin ribbon for the hangers on my ornaments. But it's up to you if you've got thicker ribbon or whatever ribbon you want to use. You know, I pulled these out. These are some thicker ribbons that I have. This one's real pretty. You don't have to use solids. You can use whatever colors that you want. You just need, a piece that's about 18 inches long so you can pull it through and tie a knot. As far as embellishments, I had a day. I went to Hobby Lobby. They had all this stuff 50% off, and I just bought a bunch, all kinds of things to use for decorating. But I also have a large bead stash and button stash that I can use to add decorations to my ornaments. Okay? And you don't have to have specific Christmas, just red, green, or whatever colors you're using to match your ornaments. And like I said, these are things I already had on hand, except for some of those extra buttons. All right, now the ornaments that I'm using are these. This is 3.15 inch, and these are the flat ones. Let me pull one of these out so you can see. Move that out of the way. This is the ornament. It is flat, not rounded. And the size is, let's see, it's a 3.15 inch size ornament. And you can see it fits nicely inside these. Okay? But if you don't have these, or you just don't want to go out and spend extra money, even though these are 50% off at Hobby Lobby right now, you can just use some extra polyester fiber fill. That'll be just fine. The only difference is you'll close the top up instead of poking the top of the ornament through. Okay, real simple. I'm using these colors because I decided that I really like the idea of doing something pastel. So I went with yellow, this sort of a minty sage green, it's more of a sage green, and this light pink to make today's demo ornament. We're going to be stitching with our H-hook, which is a 5mm. We have a needle to weave in ends and a pair of scissors. And again, this is a great project to get in your ribbons, your buttons, and your medium weight number 4 yarns. And we'll have us some Christmas fun. Oh, and I almost forgot, you're going to need some sort of glue if you're going to glue on those buttons. You can sew your buttons on if you want to, but some of the things I got are called flat backs, where they don't have any way of sewing it on, because a lot of those are used for scrapbooking. And so I like to use my hot glue gun, and this is the one that I use. It's Cool Shot. I think I picked this up at Hobby Lobby one time, or maybe Walmart. I can't remember. And I have several different glue guns, but this one is my favorite because it's smaller, takes the smaller glue. Okay? But if you don't have a glue gun, you can use the No-Sew fabric glue. You can also use like an E6000 or just a simple super glue. I always end up with super glue on my fingers. That's why I don't use super glue a lot. But you're going to need some sort of glue to attach your embellishments on. And I like hot glue. So I'm going to be starting with the green, but I've got my pink and yellow ready because I'm going to be changing colors. So let's begin. We'll make our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this into a circle. Make that stay knot, and of course, if you want to use the magic ring or magic circle, it's totally fine. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, that chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll notice I am stitching over my tail of yarn. Oopsie, get in there. All right, this should be 10, but we'll count again just to make sure. Our chain 3 counts as 1, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch, but we're not going to chain 3 because we are going to change colors. But before we do that, I'm going to weave in that end. So I'm pulling this loop big so it doesn't come out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull this string. I'm going to grab my needle. Oh, that didn't work. We'll try that again. There we go. All right, so what we want to do is close up that hole in the center and weave our end in. We're just going around. Then we'll just come up and go back the way we came. Then a nice snug pull and clip that. All right, so this is how row 1 should look. We have 10 double crochets and we join to our chain 3. And again, that chain 3 at the beginning counted as our first double crochet. I'm not going to cut my yarn because I'm going to bring it back in at the end. And so I'm going to bring in my yellow. All right, let's get that out of the way. We're going to slip stitch in between the first 2 double crochets. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to be stitching in between the double crochets, not in the tops, okay? So I'm going to stitch another double crochet in between. So I have 2 double crochets in between that first 2 double crochets. Now we'll go to the next 2 double crochets and we'll stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. All right. And so we're not stitching in the double crochets, we're stitching in between them. And it gives it sort of a star or snowflake look. All right. So we're just going to go in between each of our double crochets, working all the way around, stitching 2 double crochets, again, in between each. And see how that looks? This kind of looks like a starburst, snowflake or star. I just think it's kind of a Christmassy look. Alrighty. I think the trash man's out front if you hear that loud bang again. Sorry about that. Thursday's trash day, and I'm videoing on Thursday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then here's our last one in between those last 2. 1 and 2. I'm going to join to my chain 3. All right, so now I'm going to bring in my next color, which is this pretty pink. I am leaving my color 1 attached because after our pink row, I'm going to bring my green back in, all right? All right, so now we're going to go in between the next 2 double crochets. We're going to slip stitch and chain 3. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in that same space between, and then we'll go to the next space and stitch 1 double crochet. All right, now we'll go to the space between the next 2, which is where we place those 2, and stitch 2 double crochets. Then we'll go to that next space and just stitch 1. And so again on this row we're stitching in between all the double crochets. Now your 2 double crochets should be in that space where we stitched the first 2 double crochets around, and then the 1 is in between those. Okay, so 2 double crochets in the next space between the 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet in that next space. And we'll just repeat this, working all the way around our circle, or our ornament, which is the shape of a circle. So I'm just going to continue working around, stitching 2 double crochets between the next 2 double crochets and 1 double crochet between the next. And we'll do this the rest of the way around our ornament. I just really, really love this. All right, we're almost there. 1 and 2. 1. 1 and 2. And 1. And now we'll join to our chain 3. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut my pink yarn because we're done with that. And this is how row 3 should look. Alrighty, isn't that beautiful? I just love the way that the stitches work, stitching in the spaces instead of the stitches for those rows. Alright, so we do have a little bit of weaving in to do, but remember, that's going to be covered because we're either going to stuff it or stick an ornament in there. because we're making 2 circles. All right, I'm going to bring my color in for my last row, and you could do a 4th color if you wanted to. You can do as many colors as you want. All right, and so what we're going to do on this row is we are going to be stitching in the double crochets where we usually do. We'll go right in that first one, so chain 3, and stitch a single crochet. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way around. You will notice that it might curl just a little bit, and that's really what we want it to do because we're going to be forming it around the ornament. All right, so 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets all the way around. And again, we're not working in the spaces now, we're working in the stitches where we usually stitch. I have stitched 1 single crochet in each of my double crochets around, and you'll see that it kind of curls up, and that's because it will help us form it around that ornament. Okay, now we're going to join to our first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. We're just going to hold that there like that. We're going to take a few minutes and weave this in, and then we need to make a second circle because you need 2 circles to make your ornament. All right, so I'm just going to take a couple seconds here and weave all these ends in the back, and then we'll put it together in an ornament. So I have 2. You'll notice I did them, the pink and the yellow, the opposite. I thought that was fun. I like doing silly things like that. All right, so we have 1 where we already tied it off, weaved everything in, and then this one we weaved everything in, but we left it attached because we're going to put the 2 together. And you want to put it together with the right sides facing out. Okay? Now we're just going to slip stitch around. All right, so we'll go right in that stitch, go across, and slip stitch. You just take your hook through both stitches, pull it through, then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. And we're going to do this all the way around. Now, I do suggest that you don't do this too tightly because you don't want it to pucker up. You just have to watch it. And if it's puckering a little bit, loosen your stitch a little. If it's gaping a little bit, tighten it up. Okay, you want it to lay nice and smooth and even. And they should have the same amount of stitches all the way around because we didn't do one different from the other. And so what we're going to do is we're going to work all the way around until you only have about 5 or 6 stitches up here that are open. Then we can stuff it if you're going to use stuffing, or then we can slide the ornament inside if you're using an ornament. All right? Really simple. So I'm just going to continue stitching them together using slip stitches. And I also want you to see that edge, how pretty that is. It makes a really pretty edge. All right, so I'm going to continue working around. So I have about 5 or 6 stitches left open at the top. All right, so I have slip stitched around. I'm going to pull my loop just a little bit big. That way, with whatever I do, it's not going to come undone. Now, if you're using polyester fiberfil stuffing, just grab a handful of it and stuff it in, and they continue to close the top. If you're using an ornament like I am, you're going to just slide that in there. Okay, and then you want to push this all the way over to where you started, and then we'll finish closing this up just like we would if we stuffed it. The only difference is we'll leave this top part open, where if we used polyester stuffing, we would close it all the way. Okay, I really love these flat ornaments, and I have another pattern for you for Monday also using a flat ornament, but again, you can also use stuffing. All right, you want to get right up next to that, just like that. And again, if you are using the stuffing and you're going to close it up, go ahead and come all the way across, join to your first, and tie off there. All right, it's really simple. All right, so now it's like that, and we just need to weave this end in. Let me open the end of that yarn up a little, get easier to get onto the needle. It makes it nice and flat so you can slide that on there. There we go. All right, and what I do is I just go across here a few times, making sure that's nice and secure. All right, then I'll just come back down this way and weave that in. Okay, and you do it the same way if you were closing it up and stuffing it. And so now we have the ornament, so I made a bump there, on our ornament. And again, if you stuffed it, it will work just fine. You can stuff it more and make it more rounded if you want, or not as much and make it flat like these are. I just love this style. I just think it's really cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is just add a little bit of embellishments. So I picked out these cute little sparkly trees. These are just flat, probably used for scrapbooking. They are plastic. And I'm just going to hot glue one to each side of my ornament. And the placement of where you put your embellishment is up to you. You can put it on the front or the back. I just want to make sure it's straight up and down. And remember, you've got a front and a back that will show. So make sure you embellish both sides. I'm going to put a little dot there. Make sure that's up and down. And you can add more if you want to. You don't have to just add one. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. Okay, I'm done with my hot glue, so I'm going to set that aside. And I chose to use this yellow ribbon for my hanger since I have yellow on it. And we just slide it through. And tie a knot. Now you can, if you want to, add some beads to your ribbon. You know, it'd make it, you know, much more festive. You could add pink and yellow and green beads to match this or whatever. But I love those little sparkly trees. Aren't those pretty? Of course, I love adding a little touch of sparkle to everything I do. All right, and so that is our Scrap Happy Christmas ornament. And so here are the first 5 that I have done. And I say the first 5 because I'm going to make some more of these. They're just super fun to have around. And wouldn't it be a great gift to give if you're having a, say, Christmas party and you give everybody an ornament to take home? You know, let them pick their favorites out of all the different, styles that you make. And there is unlimited possibilities because you don't have to do traditional colors. Here's the pastel one, and traditional colors are great and I love them. But there are just so many different ways to make this particular ornament. So many different colors, ribbons, buttons, and accessories. You could add beads to, like I said, to your hangers. Lots of different things that you could do. Purples and blues and yellows and whites and every color of the rainbow. You could make ornaments. You could get rid of a bunch of your leftover yarns, buttons, and ribbons and make gorgeous ornaments. So that's our Scrap Happy Christmas ornament.